Let's. We will start with approval of the agenda, and we're taking F off as the only change right now. So with that, I would take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Tracy, is there a second?
Second.
Right. Anyone see any others? If not, all those in favor say aye.
I
Approval of the minutes from our last meeting.
I'll move to accept.
Okay, Brad,
Alex,
Yeah.
second.
Tracy, okay. Hearing no changes, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
Okay, opposed? None. Do we have any just plain public comment? Was there any upstairs? None?
Nope, we've been fielding them as they come in.
Okay, is there quite a few or not?
There's
people?
none up there.
Oh, there's nobody upstairs? Oh,
Oh,
okay, so if they do come, they can come here. No public comment. There is no other supervisor. Mr. Luke is here. Do you have anything to say or not, or you're just
No.
gonna help us out? Okay.
Yeah.
Learn. Number 6 then. For Don.
Don is,
Come on, Don.
called-
Come on down.
so he's asked Sherry Poyer.
Yes.
All right, so I'm new to all this. Where do you want me? Up there, up there. I gotta be up in the front and in front of everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
It's the only way the camera can get you.
Oh, do not put the cameras on me. We want to see it on your face.
Oh, no.
All right, good morning. Thank you all for allowing me to be here and do my best Don impression. Actually, I'm not gonna do that, but I will try and just say his words as we give you a little budget update today. I am going to have you advance to the, there we go. You got this down, don't you? Sorry, a little nervous here as I try and do this one for the first time in front of you guys, so I'm just gonna be honest with that one. Most of you have probably actually already heard most of what I'm here to tell you. I think that Vince has done a great job of kind of communicating where we sit with the budget here to date. But this is still a mid-year early view and is subject to change, so please take note of that. Sorry, go to the next slide. Situational analysis. So I'm just kind of gonna read off what he's been communicating to everybody previous to this. Inflation has moderated over the past year, down to approximately 5% from 9% last year at this time. Feds keep talking about raising the rates again, but left them alone the last cycle. Unemployment is still low. And we're looking at every one job seeker has 1.7 jobs available to them. So we are still in an employees market. Healthcare, we all know we had a tough couple of years and we are not expecting that to change. Our actuaries are telling us that we need to do about a 10% increase for next year in order to make up for that expense. As everybody is aware by now, the governor's budget is passed and we are looking at the shared revenue. I will be on a call for that in an hour to see what we can do with that, but we're looking at $566,000 to support law enforcement, infrastructure, courts, and transportation. Don's slide, I am so skipping the opioid comment. I want nothing to do with that here. Sales tax, we are currently now budgeting that less conservatively at about 4.8 million, so we will be up 400,000 from 2023 at this time. Hopefully that will kind of help with some of these constrictions that we have. And we are looking at net new construction about the same as it was for the prior year. So not a whole lot of change there on levy expectations. You're just right on top of this, Claire. Thank you. Expenses. Currently modeling a COLA and merit that is somewhere between 2022, which was 4.9%, and 2023 at 5.7%. Probably gonna on the lower range of that, but we're trying to remain competitive. Also, as you know, we have the wage study underway, and that is likely to contribute to our budget pressures for the year. In addition, as we noted on the last slide, we are expecting our benefits to be more expensive in the current year, again, that 10% increase. On the non-employee operational side, we have modeled a 0% increase for our departments, which, as anybody who's working on the budgets in here can tell you, is a decrease because of inflation. So that is not pleasant for them. And then we have also put in our additional funding requests, and actually Don has made, I think, an initial pass through with Vince on just communicating those. We're looking at capital expenditure requests totaling between 1.6 on the low end and 2.1 million on the high end. Any questions on expenses at this point?
What are most of the capital expenses? Why is there that much?
Why is it that much?
Yeah, what are they?
I haven't done the run
Oh, we're
on
not
those
breaking it
yet.
down yet.
Well, yeah, we got the first request. It could range from a truck,
So that's everything.
Everything,
It's
yes.
everything in the.
Okay.
yeah.
All of the departments
That's
request
all
that
the
are capital
departments want.
related. for the-
Okay.
Correct,
All right,
yep.
thank you.
So just,
Yep.
it's the wish list at this point, I guess you could say. So,
Okay,
yep.
all right.
Sorry, I haven't had a chance to walk through those yet. Okay, so on the revenue side, again, we discussed the shared revenues, which we'll hopefully have some better information on even after today. 566,000. And the sales tax, again, I said additional 400,000 right now is being modeled in because we are being less conservative than we have in prior years. We are looking at no transfer currently from the general fund for operational use, trying not to use that savings account there for, our mortgage payment, right? Don't want to use it for operations if we don't have to, but hopefully for the available funds can be used for those capital projects. And then our consultants over at PMA have told us that we have about 1.8 million in borrowing capacity based on our steady state debt model. Apologies, say that 10 times fast. Which means that we can fund some of those capital projects while keeping our levy stable year over year.
So on the 250 for law enforcement and then 250 for infrastructure. What's infrastructure designated as? Because it looks like the remainder goes to courts and transportation.
That right now is estimated just based on the current split so basically it's kind of like the highway infrastructure split versus law enforcement on current expenses.
And you'll learn more in the 10 o'clock
Correct.
call with
Yep, that was,
WCA.
it's just an estimate right now based on where those expenses were in prior years.
Okay.
It's originally targeted intent for roads, highways, bridges, that type of stuff, but there'll be lots of details that we'll find out.
Correct.
that
Yeah,
can
we're
change that.
in the very early stages of information as far as that money is concerned. And so, yeah, there's a Wisconsin Counties Association call at 10 o'clock that I will be listening to. And, Malia's going to save that for her evening entertainment when she goes back to listen to it. So,
A lot of strings attached to it, isn't it? That's the worst, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's going to be, they're going to tell us how we can spend it. We'll put it that way. Any other questions, concerns, thoughts at this point? Again, I wanted to do a quick run through. I know you guys have a lot to cover, so hopefully that was at
Maybe
least somewhat.
zero we can bring up to reality though. Zero raise with inflation, yeah, that works.
Yep. Yes, so, all right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
On up, Eric.
Morning, everybody. Pleasure to be here this morning, and it's kind of exciting that we are tackling our 5-year review for our land and water plan. As you know, our department is guided by this 10-year land and water plan, and we use it to measure accomplishments and align, our work with goals and objectives of resource management here in the county. So I'd like to bring up the 4 questions that the Department of Ag provides us in this review process. And so I'll go through this and we'll hit some of the high points. You've got it in your packets. And on August 1st, here in a couple weeks, myself and Chair O'Connell and Bob will sit in and I'll deliver this to the Land and Water Conservation Board at Department of Ag. So that's kind of where this is going. But first, we need to bring it to you and get your approvals on it, and then we'll move on to the next steps. So I'll hit some of the high points just in the interest of time. The first question basically talks about the value of that land and water planning process and how that plan helped us achieve our goals and objectives. And so I listed some of our goals there, starting with goal 2, protect and improve groundwater quality and quantity. And one of the objectives under there was administer programs that protect groundwater. And as you know, through previous reports, we're doing this. And again, I'm thankful for all of your support, even financially with some of those programs. It's allowed us to meet some of these goals and objectives in this plan. Going down to some of the accomplishments there, if we scroll a little bit further, Claire, to, just not quite that far. Up a bit, accomplishments there. Up to this point, we've administered 3 watershed-wide well sampling efforts. We've collected 243 well tests. We've mailed informational letters to a number of citizens within those watersheds. We've worked with agricultural producers to implement practices that help with groundwater quality. And we've performed 2 educational webinars for the participants of those programs. Moving on, goal 3, sustain and enhance land resources. And a couple of objectives there that I'll touch on: prevent, control, and eradicate terrestrial invasive species. And objective 3C, protect and restore native aquatic and terrestrial habitat. We've been involved in a 5-county cooperative weed management area. It's a partnership to address terrestrial invasive species in a 5-county area. And it's been really effective in outreach and education and control of invasives. We've done multiple aquatic plant surveys on our lakes. And one of our bigger programs is our tree sale. And from 2020 to 2023, we've sold over 60,000 trees in the county. Goal 4, support and develop community stewardship and partnerships to improve natural resources. And the objective there, encourage natural resource management through civic engagement. And as you know, we've been very involved in the peer-to-peer learning and agricultural producer engagement in water quality protection. And we continue to support the Farmer-Led Watershed Council in Horse Creek. And we've administered many conservation incentives through that program. So question 2, if we scroll a little bit further, this gives us an opportunity to share where we haven't met our goals and objectives. And there were 4, looking back on our accomplishments and some of our work plans, there's 4 areas that we weren't able to meet our goals. And some of those were related to farm reviews for compliance in NR 151. And that was postponed because there was a grant that we wanted to pursue to accomplish that work and just bring more resources to build our capacity to perform that work. And through the large scale trim grant program that we have now for the next 3 years, we're going to be accomplishing these objectives. 2, we were not able to implement a nutrient management plan and construct the manure storage facility in 2022. And that wasn't on our account because all the design work and everything was on task for that project. It came down to just the lending process for the landowner. And it was difficult for them to secure the finances to cover their portion of this project, which is in this case, 10%. So that's on track for 2024, and we plan to extend that project. So that was one we didn't meet. 2 well decommissions, no one came in 2022 asking to decommission wells, but we've had a flurry of activity there in 2023, so we're back on track and doing some well decommissions. And the last one, stormwater and erosion control ordinance and working with municipalities to design and recommend practices there. And we just didn't have any of those come into the office. So we didn't meet those objectives. Okay, question 3. Describe how the county's work plans implement its priority farm strategy and the effectiveness of county actions implementing ag performance standards and conservation practices on farms. We don't really have a priority farm strategy per se, but we do have a priority watershed strategy in our land and water plan. As you know, we've ranked our watersheds 1 through 42, and we're going down the list, starting with the top priority watersheds and accomplishing work in those watersheds. So I described that in that question there, and it's been an effective approach doing our work. And right now, most all of our work has been focused in the #1 priority watershed, which is the Balsam Lake watershed. Question 4, we scroll to that one, Claire. Provide representative examples that show changes in direction for work planning in the upcoming 5 years. And really, I'll sum this paragraph up with the award of our large-scale trim grant from 2023 through 2025. Our future work plans and work are going to be focused around goals and objectives of that particular grant. So I touched on that in that question, and we're on task, I feel, with that. 2023 being our first year with that funding and on that work plan, and things look good so far. So a couple other items that are in this packet, which you've got in your meeting packet. And I'll just mention, if we scroll down a little bit there, I just want to touch on those. We've provided the most current work plan for our department, 2023 work plan, it's in there. And then the work plan for 2022 that also includes a list of our accomplishments. And some of those you've seen from the annual reports that I've provided, but it's kind of in a different format there with a column for accomplishments. So you can kind of see that coincides with some of the high points that I hit with these questions. Now, the last portion of this document was we needed our LCC or ES committee chair's signature on there, which Chair O'Connell was kind enough to do prior to the meeting. So are there any questions about this process or some of the work that we've done or accomplishments we had?
I would just say, like on 2, where you didn't make desired progress, it isn't necessarily the staff. It isn't the staff's issue. It's outside. We done what we were supposed to as your staff and yourself. It was just, if no one comes to get a well decommissioned, you're not going to get 2 of them done.
Yep.
That's all things beyond your control and in your division that made these not happen.
Yeah, much of them are, and I appreciate you recognizing that. When we're out there identifying resource concerns and possible conservation practices, and we can identify those first, but we need to have willing landowners to work with us too. And furthermore, they need to have the capital to be able to contribute to that project too. And nowadays times are kind of tough, and we're seeing more difficulties with agricultural producers being able to provide their portion of the project cost. And those are, again, all things out of our control, so.
Then you're doing the water quality testing on those lakes. Would that be implemented into this front part too, or is it just gonna go, or will that go into another one?
Yeah, it's part of our work plan, but given the fact I couldn't exceed 4 pages on this.
You couldn't fit it all.
Responses to these questions, I couldn't put
Okay.
in everything.
Sure.
So basically, I touched on things that were applicable to DADCAP programming.
Okay,
So certainly the undeveloped lakes study is in progress right now. Our staff are,
okay.
I know they were out there doing some testing yesterday.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's there. It's just not in this particular.
Not in this front part. Okay, but it's in, I see it was in here. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Questions?
Again, appreciate your support and thanks again for
Yeah.
helping us through this.
Okay, well, thank you. That'll work well.
Yep.
All right. 9:30. Oh, we got 6 minutes. Can we ask Malia a question?
Sure.
So if we bring somebody new in to vote, they can vote right away, I guess, is what I'm gonna, after he's sworn in. I mean, because,
If they watch the previous public hearings and you decide that they can vote as the chair.
oh, really? Okay. They just don't have that right assumed after being put on the committee?
They would need,
Some input, I mean, but I
if
mean,
not, how could they possibly
Yeah, you don't.
vote and say that their vote is based upon substantial evidence?
yeah, okay.
So the cleanest thing.
The cleanest thing is work them in and just start deciding which ones until he's been here long enough that these aren't coming in or something.
Sure.
Because he'll be here probably for the second and of course that'll be the Blue Rock and some of that stuff. So I mean,
Well, I mean.
we have to
would
be a
you
little careful of how he votes or not votes, huh?
You'd be willing to give him a call and send him the links to the previous hearing so he can watch?
Yeah, we're gonna add, well, Chris, it may not be ready for week 10
Sure,
days,
sure.
but then we're gonna have him look at some previous meetings. So he gets a feel, but he could watch, yeah, is there available any videotape of?
Yeah, of the.
We could always ask him if he would recuse himself then just until some of these,
Sure.
till he's been here.
Yeah.
If
I mean, you
if he
have-
doesn't,
Right. You have a
ahead of
quorum
time though,
without him, so
yes.
got that going for you.
So we'd have the quorum, but I'm just, when something like this happens and all of a sudden somebody walks in and sits and
Yeah. no,
starts voting on everything, we have to be a little careful, I would think.
I think obviously they could vote on matters of policy, ordinance changes,
and Stuff,
resolutions, that kind of thing. But when it comes to a public hearing on something that's clearly delineated, I think you have to make sure that they have all of the information that you have
okay,
as a voting member.
sure, all right. That was just one of our questions that we thought we'd better ask.
Yeah, the answer would be different if we didn't have the much better quality video. I mean, when we had poor quality video, or you could sometimes hear and sometimes not, because we
Yeah.
were pushed into it at the beginning of the pandemic.
Sure,
That was a different story, but now the quality is so good, I think it makes sense.
okay. Then we better go back. Do we have to, Eric, do we have to motion that to pass that on? Do we need a
Your,
motion to approve the 5-year plan? Update? We don't need that, do we?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay,
No, it's more informational. I mean,
okay,
just.
yeah,
And then, yeah, Kim, you're as chair of the LCC,
yes,
your attendance is really highly encouraged on August
I'm-
1st, so you'll be here.
yes, yeah.
So we have that North Conference Room, so you'll.
Yep.
you'll be able
We'll
to-
come early and see the other ones and stuff, like, when we went down to it, yeah. Okay. All right, we got 5 minutes. Any other Take a break. Okay, let's just take a break then for the 5 minutes. And we'll open up our public hearings at 9:30. Yeah. Now, this is a continuation, is it not? Just to be sure that it's,
Gonna take them right in order. As
Okay.
On the agenda.
yes.
I will say that the first two, there's been kind of some new development in those two. Maury Reek, she's here today in attendance. Maury has an undivided 1/2 interest in those applications. And there is some controversy on whether or not they want to use those properties as rentals at this time. So the public hearing has been closed, and that's so we can't really ask her to come up and speak before you guys today. But I think you can take that into consideration, and that 1/2 of those applicants and that are unknown. So in speaking with Malia here, our corporation counsel, that would have to be researched to see whether or not you guys can act on it, because there's not like a 49% interest and a 51%. It's an undivided 1/2 interest in a marriage. So
That would be on A, the Cozy Bear,
and B,
and B,
both of them.
half interest not. So we'll have to postpone those two then.
I just
Because-
learned this morning. I don't know the answer.
Okay,
And I just learned it, and that Bob and I have had a few phone calls on it, but I learned it as I was walking in the room here this morning.
oh, okay. So
So I would say that.
that's not our fight,
and-
I guess.
And that, so I would recommend that the
Yeah.
committee postpones Cozy Bear and Ronald Reek until there is a
Mutual agreement.
mutual agreement and that to proceed with those applications. And then they would have to be republished at that time in order to take them up again.
So we should do one at a time, I guess, shouldn't we?
Yes.
Stop clapping.
We should do two separate motions similar.
Two separate motions then. All right,
It's really bright in here.
Yeah.
it just,
Let me clap, Jason. See if it'll go down.
no, Claire turned it down when she came in. It was so bright,
Yeah, that's better.
not quite so bad.
Okay.
New technology.
Yeah, that helps. Yeah.
So I guess first one,
First one, we'll-
I'll read it in just so that everything is clear for the record, which one we're
Sure.
talking about. Cozy Bear 2 LLC request a conditional use permit under section 42-237 parentheses C parentheses 1 parentheses P of the Polk County Code of Ordinances to extend the number of tourist rooming house rental days for a parcel located at 722 Bear Trap Lane that is located in section 31, town 33 north, range 16 west, town of Lincoln. Parcel number is 032-01439-0000. It's 0.45 acres. And again, since we have a mutual 1/2 interest in the property that is unsure if they want to proceed, and that with these applications, staff would recommend postponing until the ownership is clarified and the application can be acted on by the committee.
All
That
right.
would be not to a date certain because we're out of control. I mean, that's gonna be out of our control. It would be to whenever they have an agreement.
Whenever they come, so they probably have to do all new anyway,
And that,
all new forms.
no, if you postpone it, they would not have to do new forms, but we would have to republish it as a class 2 notice.
We'd have to republish for sure. Okay. All
But
right,
it would have to start over as a whole new
Yes.
public hearing again.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
So I'll entertain a motion on A then because of that.
I'll make a motion to postpone.
Okay, Tracy, to postpone because of that half interest. Okay,
Yes.
is there a second?
Second.
Doug. All right, then, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Then let's do the same for B. Let's read it in and everything so that we are
Okay.
in our correct order.
Ronald R. Reek request a conditional use permit under section 42-237, parentheses C, parentheses 1, parentheses 1, or P of the Polk County Code of Ordinances to extend the number of tourist rooming house rental days for a parcel located at 778 South Shore Drive in section 25, town 33 north, range 17 west, town of Lincoln. Parcel number is 032-015-840000. It's 0.8 acres. And again, we would make the same staff recommendation on this request to postpone until the parties that are in an undivided 1/2 interest due to marriage come up to a mutual agreement. And at that point, we would republish the public hearings.
Okay. All right. I'll leave it.
Motion to do.
Doug will do that
postpone
for that reason. Doug and Brad, for the same reason as the first, for the interest. Okay. All those in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Those two are gone. All right, we'll move to C then.
Okay. C is an application in that you postponed from the April 19th, 2023 public hearing. The committee wanted to ask additional questions of the applicant at the last meeting, which that we talked about this was June 7th. And at that meeting, you guys just postponed it to today because the applicant wasn't here. So that is the Eric and Amy Duchnowski request, a conditional use permit under section 42-237, parentheses C, parentheses 1, parentheses P of the Polk County Code of Ordinances to extend the number of tourist rooming house rental days for a parcel located at 2740 80th Street in section 14, town 36 north, range 16 west, town of Bone Lake. Parcel number is 012-00995. 000. It's 0.48 acres. And I believe the applicant is here. And so if you guys wanted to ask questions of them, that'll be the time.
All right, well, let's have them come up.
Okay, no, that was the other one. So looks like maybe they're not here again.
Eric and Amy?
Eric and Amy not here even. Again, for both, and they have two of them.
Is there nobody upstairs?
No.
He was just sitting right here.
Oh, that's the other
Oh,
one.
that was.
That's the other guy.
That was the other guy.
Well, makes it easy.
Hard to ask questions if they're not here again. Yeah, it's kind of hard to.
If
Should
that's
we
the
go-
case, Mr. Chair, I think the committee could take action on it. If you don't want to these things hanging, I think you could simply deny the application on the basis that it is incomplete and that they have not addressed the 12 criteria or standards as provided in the Polk County Code of Ordinances. That would,
I think, yeah, because otherwise it's just gonna, we're dragging these with us. I carry enough papers. I don't carry all.
I'll make that motion. Exactly
Okay,
what
on,
Jason
on the,
said.
on C.
Yep.
I'll second it.
Okay, so Tracy, Brad. These are denied because of an incomplete. Okay, all right. Any other questions on that? Hearing none, all those in favor then say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Opposed? All right, let's read in.
okay, moving on to agenda item 8D. Eric and Amy Duchnowski request a conditional use permit under section 42-237, parentheses C, parentheses 1, parentheses of the Polk County Code of Ordinances to extend the number of tourist rooming house rental days for a parcel located at 2805 Largan Lake Court in section 11, town 36 north, range 15 west, town of McKinley. The parcel number is 038-00246. .0000. It's 0.77 acres. And with that one, the applicant is not here again. That one was originally scheduled for the public hearing on April 19th. It was on the committee's agenda on June 7th. And that one, again, you guys had more questions, or you had questions about whether or not the applicant can meet the 12 criteria in the ordinance. And if they're not here to be able to present that information, I think it's appropriate to deny that one as well. And that based on an incomplete application and not meeting the 12, or not proving that they carried the burden of proof for the 12 criteria.
Okay. So a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to deny.
Okay, is there a second?
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, before the second, I asked Malia and Jason a question.
Oh, sure.
Leah, in our packet that we had from the letter, said of this both of these properties that they're being used more than 7 days a month.
Okay.
Should we ask Jason to look into that because they're operating?
To see if there's already a violation of
Yes.
the administrative permit in order to determine whether or not you have reason to doubt the information provided.
At this point.
Sure.
Might not be the appropriate time in that, but I mean, after you have the motion completed with a second, then in that way we can definitely talk. I will tell you that all of these applicants today are being advertised, and we have questions on all of them about exceeding their permitted number of days already. So, yep. Or some other violation. So
Okay, so we'll get to that. We'll discuss
I
that.
have a copy of all their Airbnbs and VRBOs and that here in my files as well. So
So I still need a second then. You a second? Okay, done. All right, then all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay. All right.
okay, moving on to the Tim Smith request. This is a new request, so I'll read that one in. Tim Smith requests a conditional use permit under section 42-237, parentheses C, parentheses 1, parentheses P of the Polk County Code of Ordinances to extend the number of tourist rooming house rental days for a parcel located at 2275 Antler Lake Drive in section 12, town 35 north, range 17 west in the town of Milltown. The parcel number is 040-00320. 0000. That. Awesome job, Claire. Follow along. So Claire's got it up here on the screen. The Tim Smith property is highlighted there in red. It's accessed by Antler Lake Drive. Antler Lake Drive is kind of a curvy gravel road. They have an easement to come in through this other lot to get to their lot. Dwelling was permitted in 2021, it's 24 feet by 30 feet. There was a 2-bedroom conventional sanitary system just on the roadside of the dwelling. You'll see in the pictures that was installed in 2020. Again, that's 2-bedroom. Antler Lake here is a class 3 lake. The property does have some areas of special natural resource interest, ANSRI, on the DNR's side, on the little bay that cuts in there for spawning and wildlife. That the new dwelling does meet the 75-foot setback off the water. It has roughly 98 feet of frontage, a total of 0.67 acres. They're applying for the conditional use because the conditional use permit is to exceed the 174 days per year and the 7 days a month from May to September. The new owners purchased the property on January 16th of 2023. There was a tourist rooming house permit applied for and obtained on April 26, 2023. So they're currently underneath our administrative permit. The right to rent law allows for a minimum of 180 days per year if they meet the criteria in the ordinance for the CUP. The applicant is currently advertising the property on Airbnb and VRBO. But it looks like, according to their calendar, that they're possibly allowing for more than 7 days per month to be rented. And the county has sent out and published a proper Class 2 notice for this request prior to this hearing. We have received 7 letters of objection as part of that public hearing notice. One of which, and that was from the president of the Antler Lake Association or district. I believe in that a lot of the public here today is probably to speak on this request. And with that, we can jump into some pictures, Claire. Taken last Thursday, I believe. So my back is to the house right here, and I'm looking up towards the town road or towards that easement property where the driveway comes through. You can just see the sewer vent is right here. I'll have another photo of that. There's a little parking area over here on the left, and then also where the county car is sitting. Okay. Just an area of that parking area, probably room for 1 or 2 cars there. This is looking to the right of that area, so that's where the conventional sewer is. You can see a lot of their lot has been cleared of the understory brush, but there's still quite a few trees. This is looking pretty much directly south, if you will. So this is that walking path that you've seen in those other photos walking up to the house. This would be at their other end of their green field. You can see the lake in the background. Okay. This would be the road side of the dwelling. Okay. Propane tank is here. Private well is just over the top of the county car. Okay. This is looking from the lakeside porch down towards the lake. There's a retaining wall along here. Otherwise, just kind of mowed and cleared area. Lakeside of the dwelling. Close up of it. This is looking towards that little bay that I said was DNR, environmentally sensitive area. This here is a lot iron down there, that long pole that's up. Property corner. And just another view of that point that kind of goes out. It's that bay area here. Their dock is over here on the right. Dock is going straight out here. You can see some poles out into the water. Kind of a close-up view. This is looking towards the north along the shoreline of Antler Lake, off their dock. This is looking in that kind of northwest off their dock. This would be looking to the south. It's a pretty natural shoreline lake, about 100 acres in size. Okay. This is going back into that little bay and that I said that's an area of DNR interest. Here I'm down by that tall pole that I showed in that other picture, looking up basically what would be the south property line. One of the things in that I'd like to point out, I think this is probably the best picture I've got of it. This retaining wall here coming off the house, that is within the 75-foot setback. That is a violation on the property that is currently existing that was never permitted. So that'll be part of our suggestion at the end. So this is back at the road, just so you can kind of see what Antler Lake Drive looks like. This would be looking towards the north. You can see it's narrow. It's maybe a small 2-lane road at best. I think most of the time it's probably just a 1 lane. Okay. And this is looking towards the south. There is a curve right there as well. This is looking from the road up through that easement. So this would be the easement area here for access. So you can kind of see how wide it is. That's probably it. Okay. So with that, does the committee have any questions for me? Yeah, Supervisor Rhodey.
Just one is technicality is a class 3 lake have to be 100-foot setback.
And that, no, that changed as part of the Act 55 requirements where the county could not be more restrictive than NR 115 anymore. So that's where they all came back to the 75-foot setback. So, but you're right, and that prior to 2015, it was a 100-foot setback.
Question.
Yep.
You were talking about Antler Lake are they a management district or an association?
I think they're a lake district.
Okay.
How many exhibits did you get for this one? How many letters? Is this whole pack here we have, those ones that we got?
Yep, and that's, so I had sent out an email about 11:30 yesterday with 3 different attachments to it. One attachment, and that was a PDF with 7 letters in it, and those are the ones that we received. They're all in opposition to this hearing. I've got copies of their permits. I've got copies of the survey showing the easement. It's a 20-foot wide easement going through that other lot. And I've got the easement language itself, if there's any questions, concerning the easement, but that's more just my prep, so.
Sure.
I do have a copy of their VRBO and Airbnb listings as well. Provide you with a copy of these. Around. Difficult, and that I haven't been able to figure out how you can print off their calendar yet. And that, because when you print the ad, the calendar doesn't print with it. So I don't know how you would verify that other than just going online and seeing that they have a lot of dates available for the summer months here when they're supposed to be only doing 7. But again, just because they got them available doesn't necessarily mean that they are renting to more than 7 days a month either. So been unable to be verified, I guess, at this point.
So their existing permit is for the 2-bedroom and all that? For
Yep,
4 people?
2-bedroom, 4 people,
Okay,
and it's got all the current conditions that we have in our ordinance right now on it, so.
okay. All right, well, then let's see if we have public comment. People here.
Okay.
Take some of that. Does anyone want to speak for or against? Come up and state your name, please, for everyone. What? Well, the applicant can answer all these too. Okay. So it can go either way, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name's Tom Horner. My wife and I own a year-round home at 2227 Antler Lake Court. And I'm here to oppose the conditional use permit to extend the tourist rooming house days. As others have stated in the communications to the committee, we are not opposed to a well-run rental property on the lake. And in fact, we have had that on Antler Lake. As long as they offer their homes in compliance with their permits, the rules governing the lake, and with respect and regard for other property owners. And there are some indications, as was noted, that this property already has been operating out of compliance on some issues. Frankly, though, we don't have enough experience with this property to understand how it will comply and how it will affect the lake. The property, as was noted, was purchased 7 months ago. The variant or the conditional use permit was granted 3 months ago. And to so quickly now ask for a variance places the interest of one property owner over the others on the lake. We assume the owner of this property did his due diligence to understand whether or not this property meets his needs while operating within the existing permit regulations, as all of us did our due diligence about the lake. And this is a lake with restrictions on it, no towing, no personal watercraft, and other restrictions that govern the use of the lake and make it the kind of property that works for us, and we understand not for everyone else. What we are asking for in opposing this variance is to the same opportunity to do our due diligence now about this property as affected property owners. And frankly, in the 3 months that this property has been operating as a tourist rental house, we simply haven't had that opportunity to understand how it will affect an environmentally fragile lake. As you heard, not only is the lake itself a small, pristine, environmentally fragile lake, but this area includes a DNR designated sensitive area. To have additional heavy use on this property perhaps threatens this area, but we don't know. And all we're asking for is let us have the time. We also have a very active, very engaged Lake District. And we would invite the owners to come to the annual meeting where we do discuss these issues. It is open for discussion. We would like to hear how this property intends to comply and to be a part of our community as the lake, and how the property will impact the use of this lake. So again, environmentally fragile lake, we're simply asking for our opportunity as affected property owners, the same due diligence that we expect the property owner did when he purchased the property, that we all did, and now that we seek to have as we understand the impact of this property on the lake. I have additional comments in the letter that I sent, but I won't take time. Instead, we have other people who would like to speak. Thank you. Happy to answer questions. Yes.
Can you repeat your name for me?
Yes.
And address?
Tom Horner, Horner. We're at 2227 Antler Lake Court, Milltown.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning. My name is Michelle Bissonette and I live at 2264 Antler Lake Lane, directly across the bay from Tim Smith. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak and understand more about the property this morning. As Tom had mentioned, I think our lake, we're proud that we all respect the small environmental quality of our lake, and we've all done our due diligence. We all look out for each other. It's a tight-knit community, and we don't know Tim Smith at all. And he's never, made a point of contacting us. And so we have observed living across the lake that he's had more than 4 residents at one time in the lake. Again, I'm not in favor of granting the approval, and some of the reasons, as I mentioned, the lack of research and compliance with the tourist rooming house land use conditions. As I mentioned, he's had more than 4 occupants at a time. He's not in compliance with supplying his contact information to the Lake Association. So the only way that we know how to get a hold of him if something's going on there is through the Airbnb or VRBO at this point. I don't think that he's really taken a time to understand the Lake Association district or the rules with specific issues relating to the lake. Tom mentioned one of them with the small watercraft and no water skiing. That's a Milltown Township ordinance. It's listed at the public landing, and all of the Lake Association complies with that, or all of the members that live on the lake. He has no mention of the aerator on the lake, which would, I think, be important if I was renting the land to know about that, especially in the winter months. Also, there's a big island on Antler Lake. It's privately owned, and therefore us on the lake, if we're going to go onto the island, we contact the property owners to get their permission. There's been recent fire on that island and abuse of that island. And so, again, there's just a lot of things on the lake that this property owner doesn't know or doesn't understand. On May 27th of this year, we had our annual Lake Association district meeting, and the property owner, Tim Smith, was not there, but the discussion did come up about Airbnbs, and I didn't hear one person out of the 30 or 40 people there that was in favor of that. And environmental concerns, which I think have been voiced by all of us. We're a small, peaceful 100-acre lake, and we're concerned with renters not being sensitive to overcrowding, invasive species. We're just starting to get some invasive species on the lake, and some of our lake owners are going out. We have a good relationship with the DNR on testing. Light pollution, being right across from this residence. There's been 2 bright lights glaring into our windows at night. And shoreline erosion and other environmental issues associated with a small lake. So again, I've listed several concerns. And it's not that we don't want to welcome Tim Smith and his family into the community. We'd like to get to know him so that he appreciates the lake and the lake qualities like we have over the years. And we've been on the lake now for 21 years. And I think I can say that everybody that we know on the lake, all of our neighbors really respect and are on the lake because of the peacefulness and the environmental qualities that our lake has. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning. My name is Kay Green, and I am on the lake. I'm at 2243 Antler Lake Drive. So I'm a little further away. I just have some general concerns about increase and increase in this conditional use permit. So I did write a letter in opposition, and I am opposed to having an increased amount of days added to what someone can rent on the lake. Many of my concerns, or all of my concerns, have already been stated. I would just like to add, though, that that increased use of lake by more renters, we are concerned about creating a difficulty and ensuring that the rules are consistently followed. And when you have renters coming in on a lake, yep, we're concerned that, they won't have the same respect for the lake and the environmental sensitivity of the entire lake. It's only 22 to 29, I've heard both numbers, feet deep. So it is a very environmentally sensitive lake. And so I am opposed to the increase in the number of days. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Aaron Forbert. I live at 2258 126th Street, which is just on Antler Lake Drive. It's odd street number. I own that address and then the adjacent property. They're on Antler Lake in the bay, just across from the property in question. I had prepared a statement, but Tom Horner actually basically said the exact same thing I was prepared to say. So just a few additional comments. Antler Lake is only 100 acres. Balsam Lake is just short of 2,000. Bone Lake is around 1,650. So when you're considering a variance to the ordinance that we have here in the county, variances have different proportional impacts, right? A variance to a property, say on Bone or to Balsam, has a very different impact in terms of utilization than it would, say, to a property on Antler. There's only 25 to 30 properties on Antler. And so, when you have in a summer, 4 months of summer, 4 weekends in a month, so 32 weekends. And every one of those weekends, and then you add weekdays, you're bumping up utilization of that property to every one of those days and every one of those weekends, as opposed to a weekender family who might not make it every weekend and might not use it every day of the week. And you start seeing how that property has now become utilized all the time because it's now become an investment property. It has a much greater impact on the use of that lake. A large lake can swallow that utilization. A small 100-acre lake that, as you saw in Jason's photos, is a wilderness lake as opposed to a recreational lake. It can't swallow that utilization. And so that's why we're here today. We're really concerned about the impact of a variance like this and granting a variance on this lake. It really does have a disproportional impact on the character of the lake. That said, this property also, we suspect, has been violating the rules that were signed and agreed to in April already. When we're out in the lake, we actually ask everyone we meet, when we're floating about or on the pontoon, we greet them, welcome them to the lake, get to know the guests that are staying in the property. They're never family of Mr. Smith, they're always renters. So we suspect that they're using the property more than 7 days in a month. As Michelle said, there's been, in her count, she's seen at least once. I've seen, I think, more than once, more than the 4 people he's rated to rent to in the property. His Airbnb advertisement does say 4 people, but in the next section of it, it does say 6 beds. So that's kind of a wink, wink that there's space for more than 4 people in the property. And then additionally on the ad, it does say plenty of parking, which also is a wink, wink to there being space again for more than 4 people to come and spend time at the lake. Other violations, I believe that the land use permit requires an impermeable parking space or setup. As you can see from the photos, it's not paved. So there's just, it's already violating the rules. To Tom's point, we need to have time. I mean, it's only been 3 months. Rules are already being broken. Why do we need to grant a variance this early? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is the owner here? Does he want to come up? You get, then we'll ask you. We'll go through our list here.
I am Tim Smith. I own the property at 2275 Antler Lake Drive. Would have loved to have had the comments ahead of the meeting to be able to call them all and address them one by one, but I'll do my best. First, it sounds like, there's, I think, a lot of misunderstanding and probably just need proper introductions. Myself, just as a background, I have 2 children, father and family member, and a pharmacist by trade, almost 20 years. This is with my wife, our first rental property. This isn't a major business venture. We actually got into this because I got my wife a birthday present a couple of years ago. We went around to Airbnbs because we weren't used to them and or hadn't stayed at them. And she likes tree houses, so we went to those and we kind of fell in love with it. Not shortly thereafter, she's worked at the local elementary school in Taylor's Falls for several years. She unfortunately has scoliosis, so she has a degenerative right side hip. So we needed to find some different employment for her. And with the recent love and enjoyment there, we decided to go in this direction. When we purchased the home, it was originally listed as a condo. So we did inquire with the selling agent about local associations, what were the requirements. We were assured there were none. That's what we were told as part of the purchase. When we purchased the land, we also had a legal attorney, which I've never had one before, review the easement and the property refinements to make sure that we had legal access to it and that there would not be any issues from that perspective. I think the date was mentioned as January. We actually purchased it on December 30th, 2022. After that point, we did attempt to get in the appliances and start to rent it out and acquire the permits for rental. And we were successful for that. As far as the association and individuals here today, I have met my most immediate neighbors, and they were outstanding, and we enjoyed talking with them all. As far as the meeting in May, I did not receive an invite. I did hear about it through my wife, who had spoken with another resident, Grace, a couple days before about the meeting. We would have attended that meeting. However, we already had plans, as we do every year, to go to my father-in-law's cabin in Hill City, Minnesota. So we did attend that weekend, and we were not in attendance for the meeting, but otherwise would have been happy to be there. As far as the statement that it was out of compliance, that is correct. That's my issue. It's my responsibility. I did not flip over the form. It's embarrassing that the signature came at the bottom, and I saw it once we received it back and moved on, calculated it based off the square footage from the permitting office, not the land use office. And that's where we got into trouble early on with having 5 individuals out that exceeded the 4. I self-corrected immediately. I don't know for the statement about it having open dates. I closed them down immediately once Aaron reached out via verbal. I changed it, updated it from the number of occupants down to 4. The reason that there are 6 beds is not because it's a wink wink. The reason is because, as per our guest book and as per our description, there's flexibility built into the house. My wife loves children. It's a bunkhouse. We have 2 bunk beds there. We understand that depending on who we're renting out to, if it's a couple or a family with young kids, may want to sleep upstairs, may want to sleep downstairs. If you like the main floor, might want to sleep there. So we do have pull-out couches there. There is zero intent for us to rent this out and make, tons and tons of money and have parties or whatever the concerns are, I guess, of the council or of the association. The intent here is to have a family-oriented place, or for couples to enjoy just as we do. Environmental factors. As we saw in the photos there, we do have a dock. We do not have a boat. I do own a boat. I have no intent of bringing the boat. And I have no intent of bringing that up to the guests that stay there to bring their boat. We do have in the description the requirements of the lake and the restrictions regarding the no water skiing, watercrafts, that is in our description. And we continually update our guest book based upon suggested comments or things that we think of, being that we are brand new Airbnb owners, such as when Aaron suggested no fireworks. That is in our written guest book that we give the folks, because I don't want fireworks on there as well. I understand the due diligence. I do appreciate that. I'm sorry we haven't had a chance to get to know one another. I did offer days that I would be there to Aaron. There was no correspondence back from that. I was there all day, letting him know that myself and my family were there, and he did not come over to introduce himself. I guess, I don't know if I'm just more old school, but typically community welcomes a new member versus somebody going around and throughout the lake and kind of introducing themselves. And apologies on my part for that. I'm an upstanding citizen. I've had one driving violation in my entire life. I've just kind of taken back by a little bit, but I do truly understand that it is a protected community and one that individuals want to maintain. That's why we have it listed as a tranquil and peaceful and environment in our description, because I don't want anyone that's going to disrupt my house or the property or my neighbors. I don't want any trouble, to be honest. That's more problematic for me than making a few extra bucks. So again, I hope I self-corrected enough. I blocked it off until October 1st. I have no intent in opening it up pending the answer here. But if it doesn't go that way, or if we need more time for due diligence, I fully respect that.
All right. Should we go through let's go through our questions here that we normally ask. I'll start. We'd like to know, what will the applicant do to ensure safe conditions for your guests?
Well, now it's maintaining the safety requirements that are in place today that were part of the inspection. So, you know, fire extinguishers, having locked cabinets, not having chemicals, not having access to washer and dryer or any utilities within the house. It's all locked off. Supplying life jackets. And again, not offering any boating or anything that typical residents living on the property would have, actually doing more restrictions than that to kind of limit activity to paddle boat, kayaks only. That's the only thing that we offer.
Okay. Well, the next one fits with that one. What do you do to ensure the healthy conditions for your guests?
New construction, we had our water testing. We've had it looked at by plumbing and electric on top of our recent purchase review for our own due diligence before we purchased the home. It's nothing more than that.
Okay.
Yep.
This one?
Okay, what, I'll get the next one.
All right, do a couple of them.
What measures have or will be taken to prevent or control noise, odors, fumes, dust, vibrations, light, or other activities from guests?
Yeah, so light was one that was brought up. Sincere apologies there. I do not want to contribute to any light pollution or issues there. It was a home light, so we do have in our guest book now as part of immediate change from that request to make sure that all lights are turned off in the evening time so as not to disrupt anyone in the community. I also have two cameras on the property that are pointed directly at the property and only the property, that I get automatic notifications to my phone. It is quite irritating, but I do keep it on constantly so that I can have constant monitoring of the property and ensuring that the guests are behaving as they should. And number two, that they are safe, because I'm concerned for their safety as well.
Okay.
What measures have or will be taken to address increased traffic?
Again, just monitoring of the property through the two cameras is the primary, and then the description that we limit it to 4 guests. Statements within the description that there is no parties allowed, which is well documented in the Verbo and Airbnb, and then also part of our guest book as well. If there are any notifications from my constant monitoring just through those outdoor cameras of any activity, I will be involved immediately to make sure that there's no escalation, and if necessary, kick out guests. I run a group of 100 health professionals, although I am what I consider a kind individual. When I need to step in and shut things down, I can do that. Unfortunately, I let 14 people go last week, so I have the capability of shutting things down and being the authoritative figure when I need to, and if necessary, escalate to local police.
Next one too or not?
What will you do to prevent water pollution or runoff into the lake or water body?
Yeah, my biggest from the environmental perspective is I think if you are on the lake, one, you're constantly using it, and two, most owners on the lake have a pontoon, some sort of watercraft with gasoline, oil, those types of things. I have none of that. I have zero plans of putting that on my on the lake. I do have a boat. I do not have any plans of bringing it there. I even go out of the way to do things for the lawn. As you can see on the photos, it looks quite terrible. I have not put any type of chemicals or any type of growth to kind of promote the grass. I need to go out there and hand pick some weeds and do some work there. I have an electric mower, so I'm not even mixing gas or oil on the property itself because I'm bringing in an electric mower. I don't think there's much more I could do outside of council recommendations to me of how to better promote the environment or protect it, I guess, from an owner perspective.
Oh, it's.
I have to just kick them out.
And I guess that's one aspect that I do want to highlight is that it is fully managed by myself and my wife. So we don't outsource to anyone else. We take full responsibility for that and wanting to make sure that we maintain both the house and the property to the best of our abilities.
So the next question is, do you have rough terrain, steep, poor drainage, but a sensitive environmental feature? So how are you gonna probably protect that little bay or whatever?
If there's any recommendations outside of what's already there, I guess, in part of my 3-4 page response to all the 12 questions that I submitted, it was that there will be no changes to what is already existing there today. I do have access to rock. I do live in the valley just on the other side in Chisago County. So if there's needs for more foundational, or we need something more down by the water, such as rock to kind of promote and avoid erosion, we're happy to bring those in locally. Any other suggestions I'm open to, but I guess my response to the questionnaire and the 12 questions that we had is that I'm not building a structure. I'm not changing anything to the land. And although there understandably is concerns for individuals coming on the property, I guess my argument would be if you're living on the property, you have equipment and things on it as part of your regular use that I don't have. I guess I would say that environmentally, I think I would be doing less environmental damage, not more.
The next one. Yeah, grab a couple, Brad. Or Doug, or-
The proposed use located within the floodplain and subject to NR 116 Wisconsin Administrative Code.
As far as I'm aware.
Okay,
Antler Lake hasn't had an H&H analysis on it, so there is no designated floodplain boundary, so it is not technically, but yet we don't know.
okay,
So-
so that's an unknown, okay. Sure, go ahead.
Is there adequate access with respect to existing and future access roads? In addition, what measures have or will be taken to provide sufficient off-street parking?
The parking is as I have it. We're on the photos there, and access is still maintained through that easement driveway. So again, if I need to do something different with the driveway, it was just sand when it was purchased. I did put some rock to make it more stable and less erosive. But if there is something I need to do with the driveway, more than happy to take a look at that as well. But it's as it was identified in the photos.
What will you do to ensure the proposed use will not be detrimental to the use or enjoyment of other property owners / neighbors or the community as a whole?
It's through the proper monitoring and advertisement. So monitoring through the 2 cameras, both on the front and back. Proper vetting of the individuals that rent the home, and then also abiding by the requirements once I understood, and shutting it down to be in compliance and have less days later on in the summer to come in at that average. Being involved, it's all managed by myself, monitored by myself. I couldn't, as a Airbnb owner, more involved in, I would argue, than I am now.
Okay. What will you do to ensure that proposed use will be harmonious in operation and appearance with the surrounding area?
Maintain it as is with native plants, native grasses, again, and to ensure, avoid any erosion. Maintain it, the property as I purchased it. That's my intent.
Is the existing sanitary system adequately sized?
Yeah, so it was part of the purchase that was reviewed and also part of the application and permit. So it's new construction, new septic that more than covers the bathrooms and the occupancy.
And last question, does the property have any previous or outstanding violations?
Not that I was aware of, but there was a comment prior about distancing that I'm interested about or hearing, but that was not part of the purchase or identified as part of the purchase. So, yeah, whatever that limitation was or whatever that concern was, I need to learn more of that.
I'm gonna add one more question, even though we see it in the pictures, but the well is private or shared? So it's a private.
Private
Well,
yeah.
okay.
Shared with the adjacent property as well as the septic.
Well, yeah, it's shared on the side where they have a water pump. So there is a pump that was put in as part of the construction. So they do have a water pump, a hand pump that comes up from the
well?
From the well.
They're supposed to have
Well,
access.
we're being recorded and stuff, so.
But there's not, they don't have it. There's no construction there, I guess. So I guess that's why I answered the way I did. Is there's no construction, there's no home there.
Oh, on the lot next door,
Right.
it's to be shared with that lot. You don't own that lot to the what?
I
to the
don't know,
north?
the lot to the north. No, that's Connor and Laura Schmaltz. So they own that, and so it is co-owned, but there is no building there. So it is currently our well, our water, our septic.
But it's a co-owned well, a shared well.
It's shared just like with the easement.
Oh, okay, sure, okay.
It's shared. So the previous owner, Andrew Lehman, which I come to learn that I think everyone here knows him as Roger, I believe. He owned it and split it. So and created pulled over the long standing easement as well.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any other questions? Go ahead. Yeah.
Has the property been in one of the things you have to follow is having a survey and well marked?
Yep, that's part of the gaining access and having the permit. So it was as part of the construction and reinforced that at the time of the permit as well. And then we do have just evening night lights, solar lights that my wife put up with some hooks to kind of further identify the property boundaries. And we only mow in that area as well. And we've backed off of it as we spoke with Nate and Laura and Connor to make sure that we're not infringing upon their space. So we've actually done less to try to promote that so that there's no wandering of individuals.
All right, okay, go ahead, Brad.
One of clarification, because there was a lot of discussion on it, and I think you clarified it, but
Yep.
Just for me, currently over renting, you have said you have taken care of that issue.
I shut it down immediately as soon as I received notice. Again, I'm embarrassed by it. I shut it down and I shut it down all the way to October 1st. We've had cancellations. I've immediately blocked them off. So there's less days in August and September than the 7-day So we've been over from June. We will be slightly over for July, but we'll be less for August and September. And plan to maintain that.
Okay.
So that's my responsibility. That's my issue.
All right, any other questions? All right then, thank you.
Yep.
I don't know if we have any other people to speak. No. No. So Jason, go ahead then.
Well, and then just, since there's been a lot of talk about their current permit and about the more guests and the more days per month. Here's a copy of their permit if you want to see. Also part of that, probably more relevant, is the building inspector's report from Ben Campbell with West Wisconsin Inspection Agency, which is on the backside of that, which shows one bedroom in the basement and one bedroom on the upper level, that there is no bedrooms on the main level, which I think he talked about a pull-out couch. So. As you can see on there, the conditions in that were for the max of 4 people, and then the 7 days per month from May to September. So.
Go ahead, ask the question.
Jason, you said the building inspector was there, but the basement bedroom must have egress then.
Yep, must be.
So approved it already.
Yep.
And the picture was a walkout, I think, towards the lake.
Oh, here's right here.
No,
Gotcha.
okay. Okay. That was the, all right. Yep, 7 days. On the bottom. Yep, all right. So findings of fact, let's go through it, should we?
Okay. Let's go down a little bit clear. And I should back up. The reason why I handed that out too, and that is, it's important to point out the revocation process and that's within the Polk County Code of Ordinances. And that once you're operating and you've been in violation, and it sounds like we're gonna be in a violation for the month of July again, there's that period of stay and that before you can have your application or your permit back. And your permit is automatically deemed revoked and that because of that, and that's a 1-year period. Remember, and that we changed that back in March. So that revocation process was in play before the April 26th permit date on that. So as we go through this here, and that's some of my basis and that for anything that we come up with.
Okay.
So they're requesting to operate the tourist rooming house and that for year round. And that the CUP is required underneath the ordinance when you want to rent for more than 174 days a year or 7 days per month from May to September. Not sure why that's not showing May, it's on there. The property is on Antler Lake, a class 3 lake. Property is 0.67 acres in size and roughly 98 feet wide at the lake. There's no wetlands or floodplain area on the property. It's accessed by Antler Lake Drive, which is a gravel town road. The 24 by 30 house was permitted in 2021. There's a 2-bedroom conventional septic that was installed in 2020. The property meets the 75-foot setback. The south retaining wall encroaches within the 75-foot ordinary high water mark, which is a violation as well. The applicant said he bought the property in September of 2022. We don't argue that, but the warranty deed when the ownership transfer actually happened was recorded in the Register of Deeds office on January 16th, 2023. It's currently permitted as a tourist rooming house when that permit was 4/26 of 23. The right to rent law requires a minimum of 180-day rental if they meet the conditions for the CUP. The applicant is advertising the property on Airbnb and VRBO currently. But it's looking like they're renting for possibly more than 7 days and that was verified by Logan this morning. The county does have the Wisconsin Realtors case still going, and then the county sent out the proper notices for the public hearing prior to this request. I'd like to add to that the county conditional use or permitted use revocation process was amended, and I believe that went into effect in March of 2023. And that says that when the conditions of a permit are violated, if it's a confirmed violation, which now the applicant has testified to that. And I think the conditions were laid out very clearly in the permit application, about as clear as you can do. That permit is also the same permit that is online. I took and I just printed it off today. So it was very much aware to the public. Everybody should have known, including the applicant, of course. And that the applicant in the ordinance cannot obtain another permit for a year. So that being said, I have findings and conclusions in that go through all the 12 criteria. But I think in that the admittance of the violation puts this permit to a denial, and that because the committee doesn't have the ability to skirt around the revocation process and still grant another permit.
Oh, sure, okay. All right, discussion. It is that we can't really go around, can we, Malia?
Well,
Yeah, like you said,
let's just go through the hypotheticals. If you were to approve it with conditions, it would immediately be revoked. So,
wouldn't make much sense to do it.
right, it
Yeah,
would be a legal fiction.
okay. Okay. Any other discussion? Because then, so we can close the public hearing then? Let's close the public hearing then. Clerk, you got our time, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're there. I think we have to go by that. That's why rules are rules and stuff, yes.
Motion to deny for non-compliance.
Okay,
Second.
and seconded by Doug. Any other questions from anyone? And that would be denied, and then it would, the violation you would send out or whatever, it would be,
Correct. And
they would have to wait.
we will be revoking their permit,
Okay.
and then they will get a notice of that in the mail. That will be effective immediately. So
Okay.
anyway, yep. And then in a year from now, or a year from that violation notice that we send, and then they can reapply.
Okay. All right then. So everyone then in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. This is his original one. Okay. You want that back, these copies, Jason?
Yes, please.
To those back.
The listings too.
And the list.
Exhibits.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And F was taken off, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that just so that the other committee members know, I had reached out to Glenn Thorman roughly 2 weeks ago. Don't quote me on that date exactly, just asking for any documentation that they might have. Because that hearing request was postponed from the June 29th hearing. So we had 2 hearings on that CUP request. One was June 1st of 2022, one was June 29th of 2022. So I wanted to get any information before the packet. And we did not receive anything, but we did receive back from Glenn Thorman an email that stated that neither him or his attorney could be present today. And so as staff and that, I thought it was appropriate and that to at least give the applicant the ability to appear again. So currently, I offered up August 2nd, which would be your next meeting. And that does work for him and his counsel. So if there was a different date or a time that you wanted to take up that matter though, I would just reach back out to them to see if they're available.
Yeah, I will be gone on the 2nd.
The other option, and I discussed this with Jason before the meeting, would be to see if staff can work out with the applicant and their attorney a date that would also work for you, maybe a Monday or, you know, some non-traditional environmental services. Because in a way, it almost makes sense to have it separate because it's its own animal. But that's up to you, so that more of the committee can be here.
Because Justin would be here then too.
It's unknown.
He's unknown too, okay. Do we think it's gonna be, it would justify a meeting by itself? Probably it would.
You might want to have an advertised closed session on that meeting as well.
Yeah.
So, mhm.
It might be easier to, with the conflict here and Jason or Justin's usually, to see what works for both of them and go according to them, because I think the rest of us are easier to
Work with,
yeah.
because you weren't there, so you don't get to do it.
I know.
So that's why we need that.
Outside of the first, second, third,
First week, what else, what other dates would be there that aren't conflicting with another committee's meeting?
Fridays or Mondays, probably.
Or like,
We could always, Chairman O'Connell, we could always survey the committee, including Justin, to find a date for that agenda item.
okay,
yeah, and then maybe to reach out to them, see what works for them. You know, 2 or 3 dates that work for them, and then
do it in the next week then, at that first week in August, because it's only, the 2nd is a Wednesday, so you get the 3rd and 4th, so we'd have to jump almost to the next week to have that.
Like the 18th or the 11th or the 18th.
Well, the 18th is almost our next meeting again.
So.
So I'm thinking the 2nd week in
8th or
August.
9th or
Yeah. There isn't much going on then that second week, is there?
The 8th would be Health and Human Services. The 10th would be Executive. Executive doesn't.
So the 9th.
So the 7th, 9th, or 11th of that. second
10th
week
would
has-
work. Executive's usually pretty short. Do
Yeah,
it after that.
that's- That would be possible as well.
That would be a
And
Thursday,
Here.
on any of
Those
those days, yeah.
the 10th or something, like if we did executive then that. Let's shoot for that then, to start with. I mean, we gotta start somewhere.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, let's start there then,
What was that date?
the 10th on a
When?
Thursday,
Is it a Thursday or Wednesday?
Thursday, because executives have, would be the more executives, short. And there, I don't even know if there is much on the executive this time. If we even have one, if we have enough for the executive meeting, do we? Did we have enough stuff on that meeting?
Is that the one where we were gonna talk about the fair?
Yeah, I think we're,
So
August, we'll be talking.
could go long, Tim.
Um,
Put her, yeah.
Doesn't scare you, does it?
No, that's, no. No,
Did you say a time?
there, no time yet,
Okay, I
because
think
we don't
I-
even know if it'll work that day
Yeah,
yet,
that's fine.
so we'll have to.
I think let staff find out what works for them, you know, a couple, 3
Yeah.
days, and there again, we'll just work it around, make it work.
Sure,
But I was just curious.
yeah,
I didn't hear it.
no, we didn't set it,
I told him what most people-
yeah. Because it is fair stuff, it might last a little bit. All right,
I can help.
can you help with that? Updates from Bob. Can you believe it, Bob? It's this time in the morning, and you're You're doing updates.
That's kind of like. No lunch, free food.
Have to go get your own.
Let's start. I suppose, I just want to acknowledge Chairman McConnell, your idea when Eric was presenting the 5-year update or review of their 10-year lake management plan. The undeveloped lake study, that's a research project you as a governing committee commissioned. Great idea. We just couldn't fit it in under goal number 2 there, but
Sure.
again, a reminder, sorry to be repetitive, please be here. Supervisor O'Connell on August 1st. I think we're online at 9:40 a.m. We'll meet in the North Conference Room.
Yeah, I think it starts at 9 for some of the other ones.
Yeah, we'll see other counties and then we're on at 9:40.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but thanks for that observation. Center for Land Use Education workshop. Thank you all for attending. Nicole recorded it for Tracy.
We didn't all attend.
Among others.
Word. I was no.
So we do have it recorded. It's rather long. I think we'll work with Claire and posting it on the homepage, where you could see all the videos. I believe there's other supervisors that were interested but did not attend, so it'll be available for you and the broader community. What do you guys think? I mean, it was basic planning, land use, zoning 101. But I think the learning objectives matched the learning needs of the audience. And attendance was at 59. So we had a really good turnout.
No, I thought it was very good. I mean, I was a little worried when I walked in and seen 88 slides. This is gonna be a long night, but I mean, they kept it very good, kept it moving, kept it interesting. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, it went faster than you think. I mean, it was over kind of almost too soon, it seemed like. But they were out of carrots and stuff, so.
The food was
The
gone.
snacks were gone, so I guess it was time to quit.
Dismissed.
Did you gain new knowledge or just refresher or both or?
I think just the refresher can I say, hear it from somebody else when you're not sitting in this meeting,
Well, it's where everything comes from, kind of from the state and there and the other people. And how many people have the same problems? Tourist swimming, camping, this, that, this, so it's pretty much
Non-stop mining was brought up, yeah.
gravel pits, everybody's fighting.
One thing I will say, I talked to a couple of different town people in that, Steve Wilson for one, town of Sterling, relatively new to the town board. And I think he really found it very beneficial and that just to learn because they're new to county zoning and that they adopted just this spring. So he had a lot of questions and I think, that audience and there was a lot of town folk or town officials there.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where it was really beneficial as well. So yeah, I thank you all for coming and that, and it's been a long time and hopefully the county can have more trainings like that in the future. So.
Yeah, that was, and St. Croix was really happy that we had it. They sent quite a few up there. I can't remember how many, but they were happy that their staff got to come up. So.
I sat with the Bone Lake, town of Bone Lake people, and the chairman was there and our brand new supervisor.
Oh.
And the new supervisor, I've known both of them a long time, and he says, boy, this is a lot to learn in one night.
Yeah.
I said, you don't learn it one night, I'm still learning every week, so
Yeah.
Exactly.
it's helpful.
Yeah, there was quite a few town chairs there, Dale Lynn from Osceola was there, Carrie Bryan was also there, so I mean, Polk County had a pretty good turnout for our towns,
We
so.
would've been there.
Jay Luke was there for town of Lincoln, don't want
Yeah.
to Lincoln out, but.
No, it was very informative. It was well accepted. I had one of my supervisors with and my book and it's
Did you, you did get one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
it was really good.
You get the handbooks?
Yeah, how do you get them?
I think they're online. Yeah.
$25.
Yeah.
Or something.
They're online. I have a handful too, if you want one for free. I got a
There you
I
go.
would like one.
Okay,
The last time they were moving, I got like 20 of them. And they were gonna throw them out. So I took them and handed them out to
Aw.
the
Oh, we'd have
Osceola
been there
Village
had they
people. And
Be something every town should have.
I gave them to Farmington,
Yeah.
but they didn't just throw them away. Farmington's kind of on their own.
I
But we
would-
is down there now, so she can straighten that mess
If
out.
I get the link, I'll just send it to all my supervisors, and the chairman.
I will say that
Look, yeah.
we had some takeaways as well. And if you recall, remember they had that table for districts and you know, what the allowable use was, if they needed conditional use, allowable use, et cetera. And then some of the processy suggestions that Becky had for applicants. So I'm just sharing that with you because staff learned something as well, and we'll look at sort of improving our processes, and at least with you know, informing our applicants and our broader community on, you know, application processes. So
Well, I see some of them are more intense, I think. I mean, I think like the questions we asked, some of that was in the application.
I like
Some of those.
Yeah, do you
So they
remember
get
the
pretty
district
intense.
map and how they had that bubble where they try to identify districts where they encourage growth or development?
Yeah.
That was interesting as well. So, but yeah, thank you for coming. I want to recognize Jason's leadership on this and putting together the learning objectives and really organizing the event as well. And in fact, I think he had to bus tables
At the end, yeah.
at the end. So.
It's been a while since I've done that in my career.
Yeah.
I still have nightmares.
In your packet is just a fact sheet on the spongy law. Supervisor Rowdy brought this to our attention. Infestation this year. There's some interesting facts about its life stages and mitigation and so forth. So I put that in there. So yeah, back to the agenda. If you'd like, Chairman O'Connell, can look at rescheduling the CUP for the Trap Rock Quarry application for August 10th. We'll work with Justin and the new supervisor, Jeremy Hall, to ensure that date and maybe later in the day will work for them. I think it's a good idea to have a separate meeting for that. In terms of other agenda items, Francisco has been approached by the Ice Age Trail Alliance. They own a 40 landlocked just east of McKenzie Creek Wildlife Area that they'd like to explore us purchasing for county forest land. So he has a proposal. I'd like to put him on the agenda for that. We just learned that we're asked by finance to increase our fees 5%. So I don't know
Not
how
exactly
to.
how we worded it. It was more, it was consider a 5%
Yeah.
across the board. And to be fair, let me interject in there is what we noticed in many divisions because of our desire to keep fees and taxes as low as possible. Directors have come back and said, we're going to keep it the same. But they are based on our expenses, right? Well, if you look at inflation over the last few years, we went back over that list and said, we've got several divisions that really haven't increased fees in 3 or 4 years. So in essence, we're losing money. So we're looking at ways to kind of bring the county in line with good business practices to say, as your expenses go up, you have to increase what you charge. So that's how I would frame it. We didn't
So-
say.
Just put
everybody-
inflation and
Just for the record, I've
zero.
never voted for a fee increase. So
And not only that, but usually there's justification for an increase, not only just like the inflation piece of it, but is it costing more, taking more staff time to complete these things? Is it, I mean, there's a whole lot of things to consider, not just, well, we can just do it cause, you know what I mean? It just.
But keep in mind, I agree with everything you said, and you're exactly right. Our pay goes up, our materials go up. And if we look back and say, gosh, we haven't increased this fee, you ask the question, why not? Have we not increased it in 4 years? And it's usually, many times the answer is, well, we don't like to increase fees. Well, if you're gonna run a business or government, you gotta say, if it costs us this much to do, we should consider keeping that fee the same. There may be fees for whatever reason, like in housing or something where you say, what can we do as a county government? And you say, we might want to incent someone and to show a sign that we're, broadband was a way where we reduced some fees to allow internet service providers to lay their cable underneath sidewalks and roads, those types.
In the right of way, yeah.
Yeah.
And if the fee isn't covering the cost for the county to complete a task, then what we're saying is all of the other taxpayers should subsidize the person who is applying to do the thing that we require the fee for.
Yeah.
So it's a policy decision. Is it something we want all taxpayers to pay? Or should the user in this particular case have to pay that fee? And sometimes it's statutory and there's nothing we can do about it. But other times we look at, based upon our policy, what does it actually cost us to do the work to get that permit out or whatever the case may be for that.
Whatever the fee is for, yes.
I'm just
Well-
scared when we increase fees like that and there's not some, like clear justification. We're giving forgiveness instead of permission.
I think
You know what I'm saying?
It's like
People
this.
don't want to come and say, oh, I'm
You
gonna
went to
pay
the
that.
store to get
increase.
eggs and it went up to $7. Did
Yeah,
they
well, I don't
justify
buy 'em.
that? They just said,
I
no,
just leave
it's
them there,
$7.
so.
I think the goal is just to have everybody look and see, should we take a hard look at, is it costing us more to do the work that this permit requires? And if so, then we increase.
For us, it'd be permits and stuff.
I know that we haven't went 4 years without increasing fees because I get outvoted every
Yeah, I
year.
think so.
I think it's
you're
only been
right.
3.5. So we'll go through them.
January of 2022 was the last increases and a lot of our permits did see increases at that time. Something simple like a landscaping permit, we didn't increase at that time just because we wanted to have people still coming in and pulling the permit, and that versus just doing it. But that was the
So
last time.
we've added a
We
few
had a new fee
We added
for
new
tourist
things.
rooming house.
Yep.
and revision fees and some other things. That's what Brad doesn't like, that part, but I mean,
I apologize, I'm a little confused. It may or may not be on your agenda.
well, let's put it on there that we have to go through it raise. And do the 10% raise first, then we'll come back, cut it down to 5 to make them all, the bookkeeper's happy.
Oh, my gosh.
Also on August 2nd, it looks like we have 4 conditional use permit requests for tourist rooming houses as well as 2 rezones. So we can't postpone because those have been published and noticed. In fact, letters are getting sent out today. Supervisor Olson, you might have a conflict, but hopefully we have a quorum for that date. So yeah, it's heavy on the zoning side and then again, our county forester talk about the 40 and Lorraine as well.
Okay, and then on our work plan, that tax deed, we don't really get to do that for right now.
Interesting enough, I think it's this week or next week. WCA is putting a webinar on Act 216, so we'll have a better understanding. I know their approach is to have a unified county approach to handling these tax delinquent properties.
Because it's gonna be a 5-year thing instead of a 3-year deal now. Yeah, all right,
So we're gonna learn more. I think it's either this week or next week. I can't recall.
okay. I just seen it was on our August work plan that we didn't take it off.
Back to this spongy moth, I brought that up because it's the same thing as a gypsy moth,
Oh, okay.
and there's a high infestation in Polk County.
Oh,
And so the DAC is trying to make more studies where they normally put those little triangles along the road. They have maps drawn in circles, and if it's on your property, then they stop at your house and ask if they can go on your property and hang one in the woods.
okay. They check
And so
more area.
my grandson drove him out to the circle and he hung one. And the other day, Wendy and I went by and there was a little triangle thing hanging there. And log, and we got out and looked, and behind the log, it was been torn down. So the cardboard was all ripped and then just smashed. Just flattened right out. And I'm sure the bear had a fun time just playing with that.
Sure.
With that triangle.
Yep.
So I just wanted to give you an update because they are heavily checking.
Okay. For the spread of
Find
it.
somebody that can run a bear.
No, we can't get Brad to come because he says his bear won't stay there. It could be in Frederick. Or his dogs won't stay there. The bear will stay there.
Yeah. All right. Does that fill that up pretty good then?
Yes, I mean, again, for tourist rooming house applications,
Yeah.
2 rezones.
One of the CUPs though, and that is for a resort. So we're gonna switch it up a little bit on you.
A resort.
Fire up,
An
bigger the
actual
better,
resort.
right?
Yep,
Is it already zone commercial and all that? then?
yep. And then they were through and you guys approved it at the county board meeting last night. That was a Grimsley rezone.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
on the consent agenda. That's the old Hunky Dory Resort. out
The
there in
Hunky
Clear.
Dory Resort. Okay.
It's just hunky dory.
Hunky Dory, yeah.
Clear Lake.
Clear Lake, yep, just south of Big Round. So
Yeah.
quite a request. So anyway, it's gonna take some time to prep for that one.
Sure. Okay. All right. Does that kind of fill us up at least till whatever else comes up?
Whatever else comes up. Yeah.
Whatever else could come up. All right. Where's number 11?
You didn't get that. You gotta stay here. I'll adjourn.
Motion to adjourn? We don't even have it on our agenda.
I
We
do.
can't close the meeting.
I do right here.
Yeah, you sure?
Next
Mine,
page.
mine didn't. It
Right
doesn't
there.
have it.
Right there.
With the closed session,
Somebody's put a page in between my
Oh,
pages.
no, yeah.
Okay.
It's right underneath closed session.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor say
Oh,
aye.
you're gonna have to stay.
Opposed, not.
You're gonna have to stay.